With more than 300 million tires reaching the end of their life every year in the United States alone, enough to wrap around the earth dozens of times, discarded tires have quietly become one of the largest solid waste challenges of the modern industrial world. But here's the part most people never see. Instead of piling up forever, the vast majority of these massive rubber rings are collected, shredded, processed, and transformed into fuel, roads, playgrounds, and even new products. Today, we're stepping inside America's supergiant tire recycling operations, where mountains of worn-out tires are turned into valuable materials in a mind-blowing process that keeps landfills from overflowing and gives old rubber a second life. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our deep dive documentaries into the industries that quietly power modern life. Tires may look simple, but they are among the most complex consumer products ever mass-produced. Each tire is made from a carefully engineered blend of natural rubber, synthetic polymers, steel belts, carbon black, fabric fibers, and chemical additives designed to withstand heat, friction, pressure, and extreme loads. A typical passenger tire weighs around 20 to 25 pounds, while tires for trucks, construction equipment, or mining vehicles can weigh hundreds or even thousands of pounds. Unlike many materials, tires do not biodegrade easily. Their durability, essential for safety on the road, makes disposal extremely difficult once they wear out. The journey of recycling begins at tire shops, auto dealerships, trucking depots, and maintenance facilities across the country. Whenever drivers replace worn tires, the old ones are stacked in storage areas behind buildings. Collection companies regularly pick up these piles using specialized trailers capable of hauling thousands of tires at once. Large trucking fleets and industrial operations generate enormous volumes, sometimes replacing tens of thousands annually. Tires are transported to regional processing centers, where the scale becomes immediately apparent. Fields of stacked rubber towers stretching as far as the eye can see. Historically, tire dumps posed serious hazards. Stockpiles could catch fire and burn for months, releasing toxic smoke and contaminating soil. Mosquitoes breeding inside water-filled tires created public health concerns. Modern recycling infrastructure emerged to eliminate these risks and recover value from the material. Today, most states regulate tire disposal strictly, ensuring that old tires enter controlled processing streams. Upon arrival at recycling facilities, tires are inspected and sorted. Some still have sufficient tread and structural integrity for reuse. These are diverted to retreading plants, where worn surfaces are replaced with new rubber, extending tire life for trucks and commercial vehicles. Retreading conserves resources and energy, making it a preferred option whenever feasible. Tires unsuitable for retreading move forward to size reduction systems. One of the most dramatic sights in the industry is the primary shredder. Whole tires are fed into machines equipped with massive rotating knives that tear through thick rubber and steel reinforcement. The process is slow but incredibly powerful, producing large chunks roughly the size of a fist. Steel belts embedded within the tire are partially exposed at this stage, giving the shredded material a jagged appearance. Conveyor systems carry the pieces to secondary shredders for further reduction. Next comes separation, a complex process required because tires contain multiple materials tightly bonded together. Powerful magnets remove steel fragments, which are collected and sold as scrap metal. Air classification systems pull out lightweight textile fibers. What remains is primarily rubber, which can be processed into different grades depending on particle size. Some facilities continue grinding until the material becomes fine granules resembling coarse sand known as crumb rubber. Crumb rubber has a surprising range of applications. One of the most widespread uses is in rubberized asphalt. Engineers mix ground tire rubber into road surfaces, improving durability, reducing noise, and enhancing traction. This technology has been adopted in many states, turning old tires into highways traveled by millions of vehicles every day. Another common application is athletic surfaces. Playgrounds, running tracks, and artificial turf fields often use crumb rubber as cushioning material to reduce injuries. Industrial uses extend even further. Rubber granules can be molded into floor mats, roofing materials, insulation products, and vibration-damping components. Some manufacturers incorporate recycled rubber into new tires or molded goods, closing the material loop. Large blocks of compressed rubber serve as impact barriers or construction elements. The versatility of recycled tire material ensures steady demand across multiple industries. Energy recovery represents another major pathway. Tires contain high energy content, comparable to premium coal, due to their petroleum-derived components. Cement kilns, paper mills, and power plants sometimes use shredded tires as tire-derived fuel. When burned in specialized facilities equipped with emission controls, this fuel provides consistent heat while reducing reliance on fossil fuels. Steel recovered from the tires becomes incorporated into the final product, further minimizing waste. The scale of operations at major tire recycling centers is staggering. Giant loaders move continuously, feeding shredders with massive quantities of material. Conveyors crisscross the facility like industrial highways. Storage bunkers hold thousands of tons of processed rubber awaiting shipment. Control rooms monitor equipment load, particle size distribution, and material flow to maintain efficiency. Some plants operate 24 hours a day to keep pace with incoming supply. Environmental benefits are substantial. Recycling tires prevents accumulation and contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. By recovering steel, rubber, and energy value, the industry reduces demand for virgin resources. It also eliminates breeding grounds for pests and fire hazards associated with unmanaged stockpiles. Economically, tire recycling forms part of a broader circular economy. Automotive activity ensures a constant supply of raw material, while infrastructure projects and manufacturing create ongoing demand for recycled products. Government policies and environmental regulations further support the system by encouraging recovery over disposal. Despite its success, challenges remain. Transportation costs can be high due to the bulky nature of tires. Contamination from dirt or mixed waste complicates processing. Markets for recycled rubber fluctuate with oil prices and construction demand. Nevertheless, innovation continues to improve efficiency. Advanced cryogenic grinding techniques use extremely low temperatures to make rubber brittle, allowing cleaner fragmentation. Automation and robotics enhance throughput and safety. By the time a tire completes its recycling journey, it has been transformed from a worn-out piece of waste into raw material for infrastructure, energy production, or manufacturing. The same tire that once carried a vehicle down the highway may now form part of a playground surface cushioning children at play, a road supporting heavy traffic, or a power source fueling industrial processes. This hidden network operates largely unnoticed, yet it handles hundreds of millions of tires every year. Preventing environmental disasters and extracting value from one of the most durable materials ever created. It demonstrates how engineering, regulation, and economics can align to convert a massive waste problem into a resource stream. If you enjoyed this deep dive into America's supergiant tire recycling operations, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next exploration into the incredible industries that keep our world running. Your support helps us uncover the hidden journeys of everyday materials. Thanks for watching, and remember, even the toughest products can begin a new life long after their original purpose ends. In this video, we'll step inside the supergiant plywood industry, exploring how raw logs are stripped, peeled, dried, layered, glued, pressed, and finally cut into the panels that shape our world. We'll also uncover the history of plywood, from its humble beginnings in ancient Egypt to the mega factories of today. So buckle up, because this is the epic process of how layers of wood become strong boards in one of the most fascinating industries you've probably never seen. Long before giant factories and high-speed machines, the idea of layering thin sheets of wood to make something stronger was born. Historians trace plywood's roots all the way back to ancient Egypt, around 3,000 years ago. Egyptian craftsmen glued thin veneers of precious wood onto cheaper materials to create durable furniture that looked beautiful, but didn't require massive solid logs. The concept resurfaced in 18th century Europe, where fine furniture makers experimented with thin layers of veneer for both aesthetics and strength. But plywood as we know it truly took off during the Industrial Revolution. In 1865, Emmanuel Nobel, father of Alfred Nobel, who later created the Nobel Prize, invented a rotary lathe to peel thin sheets from logs. This innovation changed everything, making plywood affordable and scalable. By the early 20th century, America embraced plywood for construction. During World War II, it became a critical material for military airplanes, boats, and barracks. Strong yet lightweight, plywood proved to be a miracle product. After the war, the housing boom in the US accelerated demand, and plywood became a staple for walls, flooring, and roofs. Today, the global plywood industry produces over 100 million cubic meters annually. Mega factories across the US, China, and Europe can each churn out thousands of boards per day, feeding construction, furniture, and even shipbuilding industries. What started as an ancient craft is now one of the most powerful industries shaping modern life. The plywood story begins deep in the forest. The primary raw material, softwood and hardwood logs, often Douglas fir, pine, poplar, or birch. These trees are carefully selected, harvested, and transported to factories in massive trucks. Once the logs arrive, they go through the debarking process. Giant machines strip away the rough outer bark, exposing the smooth wood beneath. The logs are then cut to specific lengths depending on the type of plywood being produced. But here's a fascinating part. Before peeling, the logs are often steamed or soaked in hot water. Why? Because softening the wood makes it easier to peel into thin sheets without cracks or breaks. Imagine trying to peel an apple. It's much easier when the skin is soft. This stage is all about preparation. Millions of logs enter these mega factories every year, and every single one is destined to be transformed into thin, flexible veneers, the building blocks of plywood. This is where the magic happens. The prepared log is mounted on a giant rotary lathe, which spins the log at high speed. As it rotates, a razor-sharp blade slices into the wood, peeling off continuous sheets of veneer, often as thin as 1/8 of an inch. It's almost like unrolling paper towels, except instead of soft tissue, it's solid wood being unwound like a ribbon. The sheets, called veneers, can stretch up to hundreds of feet in length before being cut down to size. The efficiency here is astonishing. A single log can be peeled into multiple sheets with minimal waste. Even the leftover cores are often used for other wood products or energy in the factory. Watching this process is hypnotic. A round log is turned into flat, flexible sheets in minutes. This technology, invented over 150 years ago, still powers the plywood industry today, but on a supergiant industrial scale. Freshly peeled veneers are still too wet to use. To become plywood, they must be dried to the right moisture content, usually between 6% and 10%. Factories use gigantic drying tunnels. Sheets are fed into continuous conveyor dryers, where hot air, often 180 degrees Celsius 356, circulates around them. Within minutes, veneers lose their excess moisture and come out flat, dry, and ready for gluing. But drying is a delicate balance. Too dry and veneers may crack. Too wet and they won't bond properly. Skilled operators and precise machines ensure that every sheet comes out in perfect condition. At this stage, the veneers are sorted. The best quality ones are chosen for the outer faces of plywood, while lower quality sheets may be used in the inner layers. Nothing goes to waste. Now comes the core of plywood's strength: layering. Each veneer sheet is coated with industrial adhesives, usually phenol formaldehyde resin for exterior-grade plywood or urea formaldehyde for interior use. These glues are incredibly strong and waterproof. The veneers are then stacked in alternating directions, each layer's grain running perpendicular to the one below. This crisscross pattern is the secret behind plywood's legendary strength. Unlike solid wood, which can warp or split, plywood distributes stress evenly across its layers. Factories often use 3-ply, 5-ply, 7-ply, or even 13-ply constructions, depending on the desired thickness and application. Each stack is carefully aligned before moving to the next stage, pressing. This is the most dramatic step. The glued veneer stacks are placed into massive hydraulic hot presses. These machines apply enormous pressure, sometimes up to 1200 psi, and high heat, often around 150 degrees Celsius 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Under these conditions, the glue cures and the separate sheets fuse into one solid, durable board. It's a breathtaking transformation. Thin, fragile layers of wood become a panel strong enough to hold up a building. Modern mega-factories can press multiple stacks at once, producing hundreds of boards in a single cycle. Each press cycle may last only a few minutes, but the results are permanent, plywood that can last for decades. This step is where science and engineering meet. Without the hot press, plywood would just be a pile of veneers. With it, you get one of the toughest, most reliable materials in the construction world. Freshly pressed plywood doesn't look perfect yet. The edges are rough and the surfaces uneven. That's why the next stage involves trimming and sanding. In the US alone, millions of sheets are shipped daily, feeding the insatiable demand of the construction and furniture industries. Whether it's a suburban home, a school, or an office tower, chances are plywood from one of these mega factories is part of its structure. If you've enjoyed this journey inside the supergiant plywood industry and love discovering how the world's biggest factories work, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Join our community for more mind-blowing stories of engineering, technology, and the industries that shape our lives. Millions of American homes stay warm and cozy thanks to a material that few people ever think about: rock wool insulation.